Hey guys, so in this video we're going to talk about how to make sure your self-published book does not suck. There are even blog posts and entire Reddit threads dedicated to the suckiest books on Amazon by self-published authors. Now I want to make sure you don't end up on one of these crazy blog posts, so I'm going to share a tip with you that's not only going to ensure that, but it's also going to make your book an absolute page turner. Because here's the deal, guys, there is a stigma around self-publishing. In fact, I found this article that basically says here's why you should not self-publish a book, and it even says there are enough bad books out there already. And that kind of scared me, honestly, because I'm a self-published author, and I'm like, do people really think I'm a joke just because I didn't get a publishing deal? But then I looked at what the requirements are to actually be a self-published author on Amazon, and I didn't realize this, but you can actually write a book that is a minimum of 24 pages long, and you can even use their auto cover generator software, which is super crappy. I know you're here because you want to write an absolute banger. You want your book to be something that people remember and buy for years and years to come. It really makes a difference in people's lives and shares your message wholly and authentically. And there's one tip that you absolutely must know about in order to make this happen. In fact, this is another tip that I learned from Brian Tracy, who has written 60 books, many of which are bestsellers. And if I took nothing else away from his course, it was this one thing. It's what he calls using the windshield wiper method. Now, to explain this, I want you to think about all of the favorite shows that you have that you watch right now. And I'm guessing that when the kids go to bed, you don't get on YouTube and watch a 37-step demonstration on how to build a wooden bench in your garage or something like that, right? You don't go to how-to videos or tutorials as a form of entertainment. Those are just about as boring as our textbooks were in college. So here's what you need to know. Humans are drawn into stories. That is what appeals to us. That is what appeals to our right brain, the creative side of our brains. I'm guessing that your favorite shows, movies, etc., they're all fictional stories, right? You follow the storyline, you get drawn in. It's just so appetizing. You don't have to motivate yourself to watch your favorite shows. You literally want to because it is a pleasurable experience. So you want your book to be a pleasurable experience too, right? If that's the case, then what you're going to want to do is make sure that it includes just as many stories, anecdotes, and examples as it does logic and step-by-step how-to material. The stories and the anecdotes and the examples, those activate the right side of our brains, the creative side, and then the step-by-step stuff, like here's the 4 steps to launching your business, that activates the left side of our brain, which is the logical side. And the reason why Brian Tracy calls his method the windshield wiper method is because he says that the best writing alternates back and forth, just like a windshield wiper, from right brain material to left brain material. Your chapter might open with a personal story about you, right brain, and then it would sort of summarize the moral or the lesson that you learned, left brain. And then when you get, into too much left brain, whoop, you got to go back to some right brain stuff. If you have a book that alternates between right brain and left brain constantly back and forth, like every few paragraphs, that is the foundation of an absolute page turner. And when I launched this book, Nail Your Niche, the first 20 or so people that bought it and read it reached out to me, and a lot of them said, man, that book was so easy to read. I genuinely think it was because I followed Brian Tracy's method. When I wrote this book, I looked at the entire manuscript, and what I did is I highlighted every section of the book where I was either telling a story or giving an anecdote or an example as a green section, and then I left all the left brain stuff not highlighted. And then what I did is I zoomed way out on my manuscript so I could see it from a distance, and I was looking to see how the green and the white contrasted with one another. And if I saw a section where there was too much white and not enough green, then I knew there was not enough right brain material on that page or two, and I knew I had to go in and either add some or move things around so that your book essentially looks like a painting with an even distribution of white and green. And basically you're taking your reader on this journey that in a very pleasurable way alternates between right and left brain. How many times have you been being told something by somebody and you're just like, glazing over, you're like, oh, this is so boring, I don't understand what they're saying. And then they say, let me give you an example. Don't your ears perk up a little bit? It's like, oh, finally, they're gonna give me an example so I can grasp this damn concept. Well, the example is a right brain thing, and we love that kind of stuff. The best piece of advice I could give you if you wanna write a page turner is ultimately make sure that it has an ample amount of right brain material in the script. In fact, I actually think that you could have more right brain than left brain material as long as your book isn't just fluff and storytelling. Like, this book is about how to start a six-figure online coaching business. I couldn't really teach someone how to do that with nothing but story. I'd probably get some feedback on the book where people would say it was a lot of fluff, a lot of, philosophy, but there wasn't any real practical information. In fact, how many times have you seen a review on a book where that's actually a complaint? People go, it's all fluff, there's no practical advice. So people like the left brain stuff too. They want the practical advice, they want the step-by-step tutorial type stuff, but if you give them nothing but that, then you're basically writing a college textbook. It's boring as hell, and they're not gonna like your book. So I hope that tip helps some of you out there who are looking to write a fantastic book and self-publish it and have it change lives and grow your business. If you use that windshield wiper method, I promise you, it is just gonna take your book up so many notches. And knowing this going into it, when you are kind of gathering all of your points and you're outlining your book like I talked about in the previous video, then you can think, what stories, examples, or anecdotes can I include in this chapter that are going to drive that point home? And then when you're organizing your outline for the individual chapters, you can kind of alternate your bullet points, like I'm going to tell a story here, and then I'm going to provide the lesson, then another anecdote, and then a lesson. And so your book will naturally follow that alternating windshield wiper method, and then you won't have to go back in kind of like I did and clean things up nearly as much. So coming up soon, I'm going to be taking a group of aspiring self-published authors, and I'm going to be grabbing them by the hand and walking them through the whole process of self-publishing a book by the end of this year, 2022. Not only am I going to be getting on Zoom calls with you and actually co-writing the book with you on those calls, but also providing you overall conceptual feedback to make sure that your book isn't a carbon copy of all the other books out there on the same topic, and then also making sure you nail this windshield wiper method in your manuscript. But I'm also going to be bringing on a self-publishing expert named Ben Kelly, who will be able to design your cover, format your manuscript, get it onto Kindle, do a hardcover version, and do all of the final editing and make it super, super easy for you. In fact, Ben designed this cover for me, along with editing the entire manuscript, formatting it for me. He helped me get it in the Kindle store and everything else. In fact, when I wrote this book, my very first book, I did most of the process myself, and it felt about like learning to fly a plane with no instructor, if you can imagine what that might be like. When I brought Ben on to help me with this book, I got to move into the co-pilot seat and let him fly the plane. And he basically said, do you want to go over here or go over there? And I sat in the cockpit eating a sandwich, drinking a beer, because I knew that he had everything under control. Between having me and him in your corner, we're going to ensure that you not only have the accountability to get your book done this year, but you write a damn good book, and you don't have to worry about any of the technical details about getting it formatted and designed and on Amazon. And we're going to be able to get it onto the other platforms for you, like Barnes & Noble's, Books A Million, Smashwords. So if you're interested in learning more about this program when it goes live, just click the link in the description, enter your email, and I'll make sure to send you an email when it is available. And if you're still worried about all the technical details and hangups of getting your book published, click this video where I go over exactly what that's going to look like as you go down your book writing journey. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.